Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. In this video we're going to be talking about the different styles of white tea out there so that you better understand all of these different names in white tea, and then I'm going to be introducing you to this tea hiding over here. This is our King Peony Bai Mu Dan Wang. Right, let's talk about the different styles of white tea. And white tea is unique compared with all other teas in that the name of the white tea is the style of picking. All other teas are named after the area and the cultivar. For example, Fenghuang Milan is a Milan cultivar grown in Fenghuang, or it's named after the style of processing, so Dansong or Gyokuro, for example. But with white tea, uniquely, it's named after the picking protocol. And of course, you do also get the location, so you'll hear Fuding Yinzhen or Zhenghe Yinzhen. Fuding and Zhenghe are different places, but it's always named after the picking style. So let's talk about the picking style. I've got all of the picking styles in front of me here. Before we get into them, let's talk about the anatomy of the tea plant. So at the beginning of the year, the plant is growing and then it flushes a bud. And that bud is like a furry, armored bud that will eventually open up, so it'll peel off and a leaf will get created, and the bud will continue to grow, albeit slightly thinner, and then another layer will peel off and that will become another leaf, etc., etc., etc. So what normally happens, and it's worth saying that of course every producer is different out there and there'll be different ways of doing it, but this is an overall snapshot of what I have seen in China. So the first growth of the year produces these buds, and the buds are picked before they peel off any layers of leaves, and that is your first grade of white tea called Yinzhen. And I want to say very clearly, when I say first grade, I do not mean it's the best. I just mean that it's the first in a line of 4 different grades of styles of picking. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. It is the most expensive, Yinzhen. So you're taking the bud and you are picking it on that first growth in spring. Now, after about 10 days, 2 weeks, you get another bud growing, and the producer can do the same thing, pick another bud, and that would be a second growth Yinzhen, generally or pretty much always not as good quality as the first Yinzhen of the year. But more often, the producer or the farmer will allow that bud to continue to grow and leaves to come off it, and then they will pick the bud and a couple of leaves, 2 to 3 leaves, and that is called Bai Mu Dan or White Peony. And so this is a bud, you can see buds here, but also leaves. Now, the amount of time they leave it will mean that you get more leaves and thinner buds, or you can pick it very fine and have a bud and literally 1 or 2 leaves. And this is dependent upon the producer or farmer's choice, and also is dependent on the consumer. I actually did a poll on Instagram when I was doing my spring tastings of white peonies this year, and I showed loads of different white peonies and I said, which one would you pick? And overwhelmingly, the response from people was that they didn't like white peonies that were too fine picking. In other words, a bud and just 1 leaf, because they felt that it wasn't really representing white peony. It was more close to a Yinzhen, and yeah, it wasn't really the flavor profile that they were after. Sometimes people like it to be very much leaf heavy. Sometimes people prefer it to be a little bit more bud and 2 leaf, for example. But this is your personal choice, and I actually agree with you. I don't like Mudans, white peonies, that the picking is literally a bud and 1 small leaf. I think that that's kind of pointless. You might as well just make a Yinzhen out of it rather than just trying to make an expensive Mudan, in my opinion. So that's what Mudan is. Now, the 3rd, 4th growth of the year, of the springtime, you can allow the buds. The buds will always be thinner through successive growth. So the 3rd, 4th growth of the year, you might be picking those. It's unlikely with high quality producers, but if you wait until autumn, you get that new growths in autumn, and you can make gong mei. Gong mei is this one here, and you can see that essentially it's similar to Mudan, but has very, very fine, very, very light, wispy buds there. So much thinner buds. And these are usually autumn picked. So the bud comes up, it's a thinner bud at the beginning, and then it opens up and they pick it when it's got 2, 3, 4 leaves potentially. And that's called gong mei, also known as tribute eyebrow. Oftentimes what they'll do is they'll pick it and they'll upsell it and they'll call it a Mudan, even though really, you know, it's a sort of it's a blurry line as to when it's a Mudan and when it's a gong mei, but you can see it usually in the look. It's mostly large leaves, but with some wispy buds, and mostly autumn picked. Now, if you have picked your Mudan in the springtime, and you wait for the next flush and you let it all grow out so that you're just picking leaves, you can pick Shou Mei. You could also potentially pick Shou Mei from the first growth or the second growth, the first pluck or the second pluck of the year, but the first growth is usually reserved for picking the bud. You could theoretically wait for the bud to peel off and create some leaves, pick that fine bud, sell that as a thinner yin gen, and then pick the leaves and sell that as a Shou Mei. As I said, I don't know all of the different farmers' tricks out there, but most of the time the Shou Mei is sort of the second or third pickings of the year. Perhaps they allow, instead of picking the Mudan, they first pick, the first growth they pick is a yin gen, and then the second one they allow it to grow out completely, and then they pick Shou Mei. But Shou Mei is no or very few buds. You can see there's one bud lurking here, but very, very few buds. So those are the 4 main picking styles: yin gen, bud only; Bai Mu Dan, a bud, and from sort of 1 to 3, 4 leaves; gong mei being usually an autumn picked, similar to Mudan, but thinner buds and more leaves; and Shou Mei, which is predominantly leaves, pretty much all leaves, just a few stray buds in there. So what is this tea here? I'm going to move these to the side. What tea is this tea here? This is Mudan Wang, Bai Mu Dan Wang, aka White Peony King, aka King Peony. And you can see it has a very different look to the more classical White Peony. So with White Peony King, what they're doing is the first growth of the year, instead of picking it whilst it's a yin gen, whilst it's a bud, they will actually say, no, this first growth of the year, I am actually going to be making a very high quality White Peony, a very high quality Bai Mu Dan. And it is predominantly the first growth of the year. Again, there are probably farmers that will call a White Peony King from the second growth of the year as well. This White Peony King, I would say, is probably a bud and predominantly 2 leaves. And that's what I prefer. I wouldn't be selecting one that's a bud and 1 leaf. It's more expensive, and I don't see the point. As I said, I prefer to then just have a yin gen straight up. So we're going to taste this tea, and then if we have time today, I will try to compare it against a more classical Mudan. And of course, it's worth saying that all of these teas will age, and all of these are relatively fresh. This gong mei is actually 2019, so the darker color isn't just because of the autumn picking, it's also because it has some age on it. This King Peony is 2021, this White Peony is 2020, so there is a 1-year difference here. So let's quickly scope this tea while I heat up this teaware. This is 9th of April 2021. The cultivar is the Dahao cultivar. The origin is Fujian in China. The picking, as I said, is a bud and 2 leaves, and the elevation on this is around 560 meters. Okay, this pot is hot. Give the cat some water here. And let's stick our nose into these leaves, buds and leaves. Put these all over here. Okay. 2021 King Peony. immense bursting aromatics. I'm getting a lot of nuts. So I'm getting marzipans, ground almonds. I'm also getting some freshly cut wood, like a light wood, like a pine wood, not too resinous, but just like freshly cut. So it has a slight woody note, but it is very, very light. And yeah, lots and lots of nuts, lots and lots of like candied almonds, marzipan. There's some fruit as well in there. It's a little bit tangy, but slightly creamy as well, like a very ripe persimmon that you would eat with a spoon. So the overall sort of quality of the tea is bridging that gap in the aroma between white peony and a silver needle. It's got that marzipan, vanilla, nougat, and sort of candied almond note that I would more associate with a yin gen, but it's also got some of that fresh cut wood and a little bit fruity note in there that I would normally associate more with a Mudan. Okay, let's give these wet leaves a smell. Oh, wow, beautiful smell. All that I just talked about in terms of the marzipans, in terms of the nougat, vanilla, still remain. I'm getting a little bit more green, as you'd expect, and I would associate that with like a sort of acorn, a green acorn note. I'm also getting a creamy note, like reminds me a little bit of a pudding. As a kid, I don't know if they still make it, Angel Delight, like a powdered pudding that you would mix with milk. The flavor, it would be either vanilla or a banana. It's got a touch of banana. So like a banana pudding creaminess, a little bit of evaporated milk, that kind of quite distinct dessert-like pudding quality creaminess. Okay. I did not put enough leaf in here, so I'm only going to put the water up to about halfway. I've noted here that this pot is much bigger than this is I can't remember, I didn't really weigh it out. We normally recommend about 3.5 grams per 100 ml. So I've got 95 degree water. You can play around with temperature. I like between 90 and 95 degree water. Here we go. It should be good enough. We're going to leave this for about 30 seconds. These kinds of teas, you can leave for quite a long time. It's very difficult to overbrew these teas because they are very, very bud heavy. We've got my Gong Dao Bai here. We'll go through a filter. Have you tried Mu Dan Wang, White Peony King? What do you think of it? How does it compare with more, I would say, conventional Bai Mu Dan or White Peony? The majority of the White Peony that you'll buy out there is not White Peony King. And I will say that there are people that will wait for the second growth and do a fine picking on the second growth. So they'll pick the buds for the first growth, sell that as a yin gen. And then the second growth, they will pick a bud and one leaf or a bud and two leaf, and they'll still call that White Peony King. So, there's some sort of, there's no strict definition. White Peony King could mean any sort of very fine picking White Peony. Color of the liquor is a lovely sort of citrine yellow gold. Cheers, everybody. Good thickness, medium thick to thick. Taste. I'm getting all that I've said before, the marzipans, the nougats, the green acorns, the vanilla custard pudding, the icing sugar sweetness is there. Yeah, like has a very powdery kind of quality, and what I mean by that is it sort of reminds me of powdered custards, powdered, puddings that you would just add milk, like that vanilla banana angel delight. It also has a sort of, and this is probably my current reference, being a father to a toddler who's playing with Play-Doh. Play-Doh has that sort of vanilla-y marzipan smell to it, I've noted recently, that reminds it, this is reminiscent of that as well. I'm also getting some flowers. Light, slightly peppery, moving into sort of the carnations, So it's a light floral, slightly peppery, not quite going down the peppery note of a chrysanthemum, but heading towards that direction. We'll do one more brew of this, and then I will taste test it against a more a more conventional Bai Mu Dan. Finish that's left in my mouth is very, very sweet. It has a tingling dryness, a quenching, tingling dryness. So I am getting some of the stony mineral qualities, but very light compared with, and we'll see when we taste the more conventional Mu Dan, but usually Mu Dans have more minerality and more stony sort of quench to them. This is like a tingly, quench dryness moving to a syrupy sweetness. Yeah, a nice sort of syrupy, soft quality. So again, borrowing a little bit from White Peony, borrowing a little bit from Yin Gen. Smell of the empty cup. Ooh, again, those puddings. Again, banana-y. Like a banana vanilla cream. So it's not like strong banana, but like if you've taken a cream, a whipped cream, and you've somehow like just beaten in a little bit of banana. So it's like a vanilla cream with some banana. And again, there's a darker note as well. Maybe it's that nougat, possibly a bit of fudge. Okay, I've got another pot here and another gong dao bei and another cup. So we're going to take our more conventional Mu Dan. I'm just going to quickly warm this up. I'm not going to do a full tasting of this, but I just want to give you a snapshot of the differences. And please bear in mind that every batch is different. This is just a very general snapshot. I don't want you to sort of go away thinking that White Peony King and Mu Dan are different in very specific ways, because every batch is going to be different. Let's quickly smell this. Yeah, so a deeper smell. The marzipan is there, but it feels darker. The nougat is there, but it feels darker. And there's a distinct extra little fruit note happening as well. Quick rinse. We're going to do this relatively quickly. I'm going to put the temperature up because it's gone down to 90 degrees. All right, let's smell the wet leaf here. Yeah, I mean, it is quite different. Elegance, luxury, everything is sort of a bit paler, so it's like light marzipans, candied almonds. Whereas this, a little, not roast or anything, but a little bit more, not acidity, but a zestiness on the nose, like a green apple skin. The marzipan feels like it's been sort of cooked down in syrup a bit more. So it's a little bit, the almonds are a bit darker, maybe not roasted, but just a bit deeper. Some would say richer. Others would say that this is more elegant and luxury. It is a matter of choice. I really don't want you to go away thinking White Peony King is better than White Peony. It is different. It's a different experience. And if you've never tried a White Peony King, then you should certainly give it a go. Maybe you like silver needles, you like yin gen, but you just feel like you want an added richness, an added oomph of minerality, an added richness of that sort of marzipan, you know, nuttiness. Or maybe you like White Peony, but you feel sometimes it's a bit too strong. It's a bit too, it's got a little bit too much of that inner leaf material, a little bit too much of a quench, a little bit too much minerality, in which case, again, the White Peony King or King Peony may be a good one for you. Color difference. To my eye here, quite similar. This is a bit darker and a bit greener. All right, here we go. We're going to taste them back to back. I'm going to taste the King Peony again. It's just such a, I mean, I cannot imagine that anybody would dislike this tea. It has such a great balance to it. Sweet, puddingy, dessert-like, bit of mineral, bit of wood, a bit of cream. It's got lots going on. A bit floral, a bit of that persimmon creaminess, fruitiness. Now the White Peony, more pepper, more mineral, more stony, a little bit more of that sort of greenness. And I don't mean it in a grassy way, but like a, as I said before, like a sort of apple skin tang and quench, you know, a little bit extra dryness to the taste and texture. Texture is, I would say, sort of overall in the mouth, thick, similar thickness, but this one is more syrupy in this finish. So this one has a sort of tingly, dry to syrupy finish. This one is more quenching, more mineral, but, you know, richer in taste. No, I don't think that's right in saying. A stronger impact potentially, not richer, because the richness of this is there. It's just less sort of punchy. Both great teas. And by the way, this is our White Peony. So, you know, I'm comparing two great teas that we have selected. Just different. And certainly, it would be a great A/B to do so that you understand the difference that first growth makes and the difference that comes with a slightly finer picking in terms of your Mu Dan. Let me know your thoughts on Bai Mu Dan Wang or White Peony King. How does it compare for you with the more conventional White Peony? And which is your favorite white tea picking style? That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Keep drinking the good stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.